let's talk about 5D consciousness. 5D is really, it's intangible. And I'm going to talk about 1D through 4D to build you up to this, just to give you your roadmap. But 5D is intangible. That's why it's a little bit tricky. And it refers to a state of higher awareness. It's a high frequency vibration that is synonymous with the heart, with unconditional love, with unity. And it's a state of being that is like utter transcendence, ecstasy, expansion. It is very elusive, yet when you feel it, you feel it. And the simplest examples of this I can give you is if you've had a loved one passed and you've received a message from them, whether you've gone to a medium or you know that that loved one loved cardinals or butterflies, or said, I will come to you and show up as a butterfly. And then just after they die, you're doing something and a butterfly flies up to the window and you have that moment and you bust open in sadness and tears and joy and connection. That's 5D right there. It's that transcendent, otherworldly energy that breaks space and time. Another example of that would be a random act of kindness. We've all been either the purveyors of or recipients of random acts of kindness. Think about when somebody pays for your coffee in front of you in the Starbucks line and you get up to the window and you're like, what? They paid for my coffee? My gosh, and you're blown away, awestruck, appreciative. Wow, there's kindness. Wow, people are amazing. Oh my gosh. And you're talking to the person at the window who's experiencing the same darn thing, if not even on a higher frequency than that. That's 5D. Kindness, like just humanity, connection. Or you're listening to a song on the radio and it touches something deep within you, whether it's a nostalgic memory, a point in time, and it either just uplifts you or it brings tears, even if it is sadness, but it like breaks you open in a way. It's an energy beyond, and it's expansive, it's timeless, but it comes from our heart center and the heart chakra. These energies are happening more frequently, they're more available. And I will tell you, for me, they've been rolling in more consistently over the last year. But I would say in the last 6 months, they've become more frequent. I will have ecstatic, uplifting, infinite experiences in the most mundane of circumstances regularly and frequently. So I've gotten to where I look for them. I almost expect them. And yes, expectations can be killers, but I am in a state of expectancy more often than not that something extraordinary is going to happen. And it does, even if it is very simple. The first dimension, and I've talked about this before, is literally the iron core crystal of the earth. And the iron core crystal seismically has been identified and researched, and it is larger than the moon and hotter than the sun. I've said this before in a podcast because I think it's kind of brilliant, but it's the truth. It is huge, bigger than our moon, and it's hotter than the sun, and it's pure iron. It is literally our point of gravity. It is our center. It is what holds the earth in place in a gravitational field. It is the literal center of the earth and the planet, and what grounds and centers us. So if you're meditating and you drop a grounding cord to ground, when I do that, I drop it all the way down through the second dimension, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, all the way down to the iron core crystal. And I literally imagine my grounding cord is like tendrils of DNA, and the energy just, it runs through this iron core crystal. It grabs all the magic and magnificence, and then it shoots back up into my body. So that's the way my mind thinks of it. And I feel this energy surge and connection and stability, but I do it through imagination. But that's the first dimension. The second dimension is what is called the telluric realm, and it encapsulates the area, the surface area between the iron core crystal and the surface of the earth. So think about that. That is probably millions of years of strata, mineral rich energy. It's the mineral kingdom. It's the cells and the biology, the living library of planet Earth, the archives, the history. Earth is like a living library. And that realm, the second dimension, is the mineral kingdom, the crystals, every bit of history of this planet. It's a physical space. The first dimension, the second dimension, and the third dimension are physical spaces. And also, like I said, when I drop that grounding cord, I imagine the grounding cord is going through like a, not a drill, but this peaceful strand of light and DNA running through every layer of that strata and giving it my energy and taking in its energy. It's like this heartbeat of synergy, the way I imagine it. And then it beats down into that crystal core, and then it comes back up through that whole telluric second dimensional realm. That's the second dimension. The third dimension is literally the surface of planet Earth, our 3D reality that is very material. And the interesting thing about 3D, and I'm going to break it down a little bit, it is material, but it also has some intangible properties as well. So it's the third dimension starts to change, whereas 1 and 2 are literal dimensions. 3 is a literal dimension, a material reality, but it has some non-material components. The third dimension is Earth's surface, and it consists of our reality, but it also consists of duality, fear, ego-based survival thinking, and our dual nature of inside, outside, masculine, feminine, high, low, yin, yang, as above, so below. You do you in that. So it is this physical plane of existence that really encompasses all of our survival mode. What do we need materially in order to survive? Food, water, shelter, relationship, community, money, a multitude of things. So it encompasses survival and work. It's very transactional in nature. And when I say it that way, that gives you the energy. It's transactional. And transactional is important. We are human beings. We are physical, dense beings that we move, we feel, we have a physical body we can touch. We have touch, taste, sight, sound. We have sensory perception. All of this is encompassed in the third dimension. We also need all the dimensions, but we need the third dimension to be anchored in to this physical experience that we incarnated into. The fourth dimension, here's where it gets a little bit tricky. And the fourth dimension I think of as like a static soup. It is literally consciousness, all of our thoughts combined, not just my thoughts, not just all the thoughts. It is consciousness, thoughts, every frequency that we are transmitting from a mental plane, as well as all of the emotional frequencies we are transmitting. So it's the thought plane and the emotional plane combined. Sound like a hot mess? Yeah, it is. It's a lot. It's a lot. Just think, just for me in a general day, how many thoughts and emotions I have, and then think about you, and then compound that by the what, 7 billion people, and then animals and trees and everything on this planet. Every sentient being contributes to the fourth dimension. That's a lot. And it's intangible. It's a frequency that exists. And what's happening in the fourth dimension is it's attempting to become cohesive. And it's been very incohesive or incoherent and staticky and soupy with all sorts of mixed messages. You know, when we talk about manifesting and the law of attraction, things like that, and it's like you can say you want a Corvette or whatever you're trying to manifest, but do you believe that you are worthy of it and that you will receive it and it will be affordable? And do the beliefs match with your intention? We're always sending signals out mentally and emotionally. And a lot of times they're going in multiple directions. So the fourth dimension is complex in that it's intangible. It is a multitude of frequencies, but the energy that is coming from the fifth dimension that I've been talking about, that heart-centered unity, cohesion, love, upliftment, oneness that is coming down through the fourth and into the third, it's helping to organize the fourth dimension. When we talk about these dimensions and we talk about it in a very hierarchical way, first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, that's a hierarchy. And the fifth dimension is not about hierarchy, it's about synarchy. And synarchy is pure synergy. So we don't even have the language to truly express it, but we're doing the best we can and it works. It's helpful. We're getting there. But when you're in that fifth dimensional energy, there's no language for it. You all know what it feels like to bust into that realm of, oh my gosh, this is amazing, because you feel it in your body and it becomes infinite. It's so pure that it's like going back to source, going back to God, going back and being in your divinity. That's fifth dimensional energy. And I'll go ahead and talk about the sixth dimension. Different people have different schools of thought that there are 9 dimensions, that there are 12 dimensions. For all we know, there are a bajillion million different dimensions because we live in a multiverse. So even thinking that there's just this many and this is exactly what they do and what they mean, that's a limiting way for me to explain it. And I recognize that. So when you think about this, you don't have to be dogmatic or any kind of perfect. Use your own imagination, your sensory perception, and your discernment along your path. But the sixth dimension is quite curious. Use your own imagination, your sensory perception, and your discernment along your path. But the sixth dimension is quite curious. It's like architecture. It is, if you've got the fourth dimension, which is our consciousness, our thoughts, our emotions, and then the fifth dimension, which is just pure positive potential, infinite, expansive. The sixth dimension is almost like a holographic piece of architecture that writes the code for the third dimension. The sixth dimension is very connected to the third dimension. The sixth dimension is the hologram, the holographic energy. It's, to me, I think of it as like a blueprint or architecture, and it's all of these archetypes. And if you want to think about it from like a futuristic perspective, it's like one of those screens in one of those movies where they're just, everything is up in the air and they're touching things like it's a computer screen out in the open. You all know what I'm talking about in those futuristic movies that you're like, whoa, that's so advanced. That's the best way I can articulate or conceptualize the sixth dimension. So I will share this with you. With the sixth dimension, what I've done for a while now is I will literally, if I'm working on healing something, whether it's a physical ailment or something emotional, when I'm going to bed and I'm meditating, I will take Amanda, my human body, in my mind's eye, and I will send it up to the sixth dimension, the holographic space, for cosmic surgery to be done, or cosmic architecture, or for my blueprint to be upgraded, cleaned out. So that's how I work with the sixth dimension. But don't get confused in that. I just want you to have some awareness around these dimensions and planes of existence.